Sometimes the deepest exhaustion is not physical. It is the quiet fatigue of the soul. There are people who smile every day, yet inside, they are emotionally worn thin. People who continue showing up for work, family, ministry, responsibilities, and expectations, while silently feeling disconnected, discouraged, and drained. And because there are no visible wounds, few people notice. Spiritual exhaustion is dangerous because it often grows quietly. Not all tiredness can be fixed with sleep. Some exhaustion comes from carrying emotional burdens for too long. From fighting silent battles. From surviving disappointment after disappointment. From giving endlessly while receiving very little rest emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. And eventually, the soul begins whispering what the body cannot explain. If you have been feeling emotionally numb, constantly overwhelmed, unmotivated, discouraged, disconnected from joy, this message may help you understand what your heart has been trying to say. There is a difference between ordinary tiredness and soul exhaustion. Physical tiredness says, "I need rest," but spiritual exhaustion says, "I do not know how much longer I can keep carrying this." That kind of weariness affects everything. You may lose motivation for things you once loved. Simple tasks begin feeling heavy. Conversations feel draining. Your patience shortens. Your joy fades quietly. Even prayer can begin feeling difficult. Not because you no longer believe, but because you are emotionally depleted. Many people experiencing spiritual exhaustion blame themselves. They think, "Why am I feeling this way? Why can't I just push through? Why am I emotionally tired all the time?" But exhaustion is often the result of prolonged emotional pressure. Sometimes the soul becomes tired because it has been strong for too long. The Bible shows us that even faithful people became weary. Psalms is filled with honest prayers from emotionally overwhelmed hearts. David wrote words that reflected discouragement, fear, loneliness, exhaustion, and grief. Yet those moments did not make him weak. They made him human. Even the prophet Elijah experienced emotional collapse after prolonged stress and fear. After great spiritual victory, he became overwhelmed emotionally and wanted to isolate himself. One of the most important lessons in Scripture is this: faithful people can still become tired. Sometimes spiritual exhaustion appears through emotional numbness. You stop reacting the way you once did. You feel detached. You struggle to celebrate good moments. You begin functioning emotionally on survival mode instead of peace. Other times it appears through constant overthinking. Your mind never fully rests. You replay conversations. You worry about people. You carry responsibilities nobody sees. And eventually, emotional overload turns into spiritual fatigue. Some people become spiritually exhausted because they are always pouring into others while neglecting themselves. They become everyone's support system. Everyone comes to them for advice, for help, for emotional comfort. But very few ask, "Who supports you?" There are people who spend years carrying everyone else emotionally until their own inner world quietly collapses. This is why boundaries matter. This is why emotional rest matters. This is why silence, reflection, prayer, and peace matter. Because a constantly overwhelmed soul eventually loses clarity. And one of the saddest signs of spiritual exhaustion is losing interest in hope. You stop expecting things to improve. You stop dreaming. You stop believing change is possible. Discouragement becomes your emotional normal. But discouragement is dangerous when it remains unaddressed for too long. Because hopelessness slowly drains vision from the future. That is why healing begins with honesty. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Some people are exhausted because they have never truly processed grief. Others are tired because they continuously suppress emotions to appear strong. Some are carrying silent disappointment with life, relationships, betrayal, or unanswered prayers. And all of that emotional weight accumulates slowly over time. The soul was never designed to carry endless pressure without restoration. Even Jesus withdrew from crowds to rest and pray. Rest is not weakness. Rest is wisdom. There are seasons when healing begins by allowing yourself to pause emotionally. Not quitting life, but giving your soul room to breathe again. That may mean spending time in prayer, reducing unnecessary stress, protecting your peace, stepping away from emotionally draining environments, or learning that you cannot rescue everyone. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop pretending you are okay when you are not. Healing often begins quietly. Not dramatically. Not instantly. But slowly. Like sunlight returning after a long storm. You begin noticing moments of peace again. Moments of clarity. Moments where your heart feels lighter. And eventually, strength begins returning little by little. If this message is speaking to your heart today, subscribe and join this community of faith, healing, reflection, and encouragement. And in the comments, share one word describing how your spirit has been feeling lately. Your story may help someone else feel less alone. If your soul has been tired lately, do not ignore it. Exhaustion is not always failure. Sometimes it is a signal that your heart has been carrying too much for too long. Healing is possible. Peace is possible. Strength can return again. One quiet step at a time. And remember this, even weary souls deserve compassion. Especially your own. Subscribe for weekly encouragement, emotional healing, faith-based wisdom, and reflective conversations for difficult seasons of life. And share this video with someone who may be silently carrying emotional exhaustion alone.